Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Oracle Expert. If you have not watched my previous videos, I would recommend you can watch that. Those videos are about the basic database fundamentals and the ER model. So you can watch to my channel's video section and then you can watch those videos. Now before I start my video, I'd request everyone who is watching my video to subscribe to my channel and like my video. It would be a huge encouragement for me if you do that. Now, today's topic is about how Oracle stores data. To elaborate what it means is like how Oracle stores like the data in a logical structure. So we are going to look into today's video how Oracle is storing the data, and that's not a physical storage; it's more of a logical storage. So let's go to the next slide. Now, as you can see on the slide, how the logical storage is represented. And this is the hierarchy, the smallest one being the block. The next one above block is the extent. And the last one is the segment. So this is the hierarchy, how it works like from blocks, then extent, then segment. Now the same thing you can see that in the figure below, where I have tried to show how exactly these things are stored in the database as a logical structure. Now you can see that here these ones with the 2 kbs kilobytes are the blocks, data blocks. Now the data blocks are in fact uh, the part of extent, like a single or multiple data blocks makes a makes an extent, right? So you can see this. So multiple. So this is 2 kb, this is 24 kb, right? So you can understand that. So this is the number of blocks that forms an extent. So now these extents in terms forms a segment. So this is what this segment, that is, you can see here, right? 24 kilobits and 72 kilobits, right? So then it is 96 kbs. This is the segment, right? So this is how it stores the data. This is the hierarchy, in fact. So hope that's pretty much clear. Let's move on to the next slide. What is a data block? Literally, what it means is data blocks is the smallest unit of DB to store data, right? So this is how what the highlighted comment it shows here, right? So what it means is Oracle manages the storage space in a data file uh, in the units called data blocks, right? So data blocks is the smallest unit of a data used by database to store the data, right? In contrast to the operating system, generally what we see in the operating system is like where the data is stored in bytes, right? So bits, bytes, then kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, and so on. It goes on. So the standard block size, what we define here, it's like that's what I mentioned there in the previous screen, right? There it was the block size was 2 kbs. Now all those things we can in fact use this particular parameter db block size. It's an initialization parameter through which we can store this particular information of the data block. What it would be the size of the data block. So this is how where we can store the data block size. So the data block are the smallest unit of the storage that Oracle can use or allocate. Right. So this is how the data blocks or what exactly it means. So let's move on to the next slide. So the next slide actually shows the data block format. Now, the Oracle data block format is similar regardless to whether it stores table indexes or clustered data, right? So the data block is divided into like the header, the table directory, the row directory, overhead, row data, and free space. Now let's go one by one. Uh, like from the top, that's header. What exactly is an header? The header contains general information, block information, such as the block address, a type of segment. Right? It's a type of segment. It's like for a data segment or an index, something like that. The next thing is the table directory. This portion of the data block contains information about the table, which are stored in the block. Right? So next one is the row directory. This portion of the data block contains information about actual rows, right? Including the address for each row piece in the row data, right? Like after the space is allocated in a particular row directory, this space is not reclaimed until unless the row is deleted. Oracle will reuse that space, right? Once it is like some new row is getting inserted. So this is what the row directory is all about. So next one is the overhead. The data block overhead, the table directory and the row directory are referred collectively as overhead. Some data block overhead is in fixed size. The total block overhead is variable. On an average, the fixed and the variable portion is about 8 to 107 bytes, right, for the overhead. Now the next one is the row data. This portion of the data block contains a table or index data, right? So the rows can span across blocks. If it can't store any information in a particular block, it can span across blocks, so multiple blocks. So, so this is how what the row data uh, block will contain the information. Now the last one is this free space. This free space is allocated for insertion of new rows or updation of the existing rows. That may require additional space, right? So this is the structure of the data block, how it looks like, right? You can say this. So this is the data block. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So what is an extent? So extent is a logical unit of database storage, which is made up of contiguous data blocks, as I showed it in the second slide initially in the diagram, where how it is represented as hierarchy. So I mentioned there was like a particular extent is formed by one or more data blocks, right? So similarly, one or more segments for extent combines forms a segment. When the existing space of a segment is used up, Oracle allocates a new extent or a new segment, right? So automatically, in fact, allocates that. Now, when a new table is created, uh, so what Oracle does is Oracle allocates data segments, like that is called the initial extents of a specified number of data blocks that will be supplied by Oracle. If the initial segment allocated gets full, then Oracle allocates an incremental extent of the segment. Right. So how these things are managed, right? So there are how does Oracle sees that okay the space is used up or this is free. There are two things that Oracle uses, that is locally managed and dictionary managed. So the space management can be dictionary managed, which means dictionary tables to track the space utilization, right? And the or it's like if it's a local managed, it will be locally managed, which is actually managed by bitmaps to track the space, which means the table space maintains a bitmap for each data file to keep track of free or use status of the blocks. And remember, data file is a pure operating system file, that is the data file. So Oracle maintains a bitmap for each data file to keep track of free or used status of the blocks in the data file. Each bitmap corresponds to a block or a group of blocks. When the extent are allocated or freed for the reuse, Oracle will do what is like it will change the bitmap value, right? So it's like something is used up, some rows are inserted or some rows are deleted. So those values needs to be updated in the bitmap in order to show the latest status. So the bitmap will be updated, and Oracle will know that okay, this is the amount of space that is available for that particular extent in a locally managed. That is when we are coming for bitmap thing. That's a locally managed. Right? So what is a dictionary managed table space management? So dictionary managed table space uses dictionary tables, which means Oracle updates the appropriate tables in the data dictionary whenever extent is allocated or free for use. Like there are the dictionary tables where it in fact will be storing those information. So this is how the dictionary management is done. That is more like I can say like it's an auto allocate. This a parameter that we use as auto allocate. So that is how it will be working. So now let's go to the next slide. This is about the segments. Now what is a segment? Now as I mentioned here, a segment is a set of extent within a table space that contains all the data for a specific logical structure within the table space, which means Oracle allocates one or more extent to form the table space data segment, right? So a single data segment in an Oracle database holds all of the data for any of the following that I mentioned below, like it could be a table that is not partition, a partition of a partition table, or cluster of tables. So this is how a single data segment can hold information. Right? So now once like Oracle creates a, data segment, like when one actually creates a table or a cluster using the create statement. So when we have that create statement, right? So when we use that create statement as a keyword, right? So when we use that, so Oracle in fact allocates the segment. Now, next one I have mentioned there is like Oracle also uses temporary segment. What's in temporary segment? Why it is being used? Oracle creates the temporary segment, right? Generally, which is often required for like temporary workspace for doing some temporary works, like if they can't do it in memory, if it cannot hold it in memory, it'll actually require a temporary space for the, like what we can say, like it's an intermediate stage for SQL statements, uh, like for the parsing and execution of the SQL statements. Like Oracle then like automatically allocates the disk space for a temporary segment. Oracle does not create a segment if the sorting operation can be done in a memory. Like that's what I mentioned just few couple of minutes sentence before, right? So when we require, it is not, the memory is not sufficient, it will use the temporary segment. But if it is sufficient, so it won't use the temporary segment, rather than it will be using the memory only. So that will be much faster and efficient, right? So some point of time, like even it uses for some unindexed joins and correlated subqueries as well. It may require a temporary segment, which means if a query contains like something like a distinct clause, a group by, and an order by, something like that. So it would require a temporary segment to process those things, because it will give some additional space rather than creating everything in the memory. So it will use a temporary segment there. So by this we have reached the end of this slide. Hope this video was informational. So it would. I hope it would help people who are trying to learn the basics of Oracle and how the logical structure in which Oracle stores the data. So before I end this video, I would again reiterate people that please, please subscribe my channel and like my video. Thank you.